So I'm going to throw the countdown. Where is the countdown?
Oh, I already went. YOLO.
Oh, you went live? All right,
Yeah.
so I'll just click live.
Sorry.
Cool. And my phone says we're live, so I guess we're live.
Beautiful.
So I don't know who's hosting. I guess we're co-hosting because you're doing this on your channel. I'm doing it on my channel.
Yeah.
And so Scotty, I've actually only talked to about 10 minutes this morning and said, hey, why don't you come on my channel? And he said yes. So welcome, viewers. Scotty, what kind of pilot are you?
So I am in the military. I'm in the Army. I fly King Air 350s. Believe it or not, the Army actually has more than helicopters. I'm one of the fortunate few, though, who gets to fly airplanes. But they have kind of paid for anything and everything regards to ratings that I want. So I've got my single engine, multi-engine rotorcraft seaplane licenses commercially. I mean, I've flown the L-39, P-51, T-6 Texan, Extra 300. It's been a blast. This last few
Wow.
years have been absolute blast. You know, aerobatic seaplane, nap of the earth on helicopters. It's been fun for sure. But I've also learned a lot
Oh, I
in
bet.
the
I bet.
short amount of
And how
time.
many hours do you have?
Right now I'm about 550 hours, so it's still
Oh,
I'm
okay.
still a fairly low hour pilot, which
Yeah.
yeah. So I
When
don't know
I
everything, but
when I started flying, I was flying like over 100 hours a year, and I was paying for it all myself. So
yeah,
I cracked open, I got like 1,000 hours in less than 10 years.
yeah.
And I and I did it the the civilian way, paid for the whole
Oh,
way.
that's
There's a lot
that's tough. Yeah, I just
lot cheaper ways of doing it.
yeah, I just got back from a deployment and I flew 150 hours in just under 3 months. So
Oh wow.
it was a long yeah, it's a long 3 months, but it was well worth it. So, but
That's a stink load of stick time.
yeah,
So
it gets boring.
yeah, I've had flights, and well actually let's I'm not going to talk about flying stuff. We're here to talk about Trevor Jacob and his plane crash, which I got a lot of questions about, and I think anybody that has any idea of what's going on probably has a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And do you have video you can roll in, or do you want me to bring in some video?
I think I've got my channel up right now. So I guess I don't know how you would import it onto here though. So maybe it's better if you do it. I don't know.
Okay, all right. So let me click a few buttons here. So what we're looking at, and let me go full screen on this before and I'm pulling up your video,
Oh, okay.
and boom. Let me pick Chrome tab, and right here, click share, and okay, it's loading. All right, cool. And let's see, can we do this? Gives a little bit bigger. Yeah. Alrighty. So this guy is flying a Taylorcraft. Now, where is this? Where is this, like California or?
Yeah, it's Southern California from what I could put together. So originally this was out, like his registration was out of Lincoln. So I took it as he probably took off out of Lincoln, flew to Mammoth, but that's not the case. So he took off out of Lompoc. I'm not sure how you say it, but it's KLPC, and is flying to KMMH over the mountains. Um,
And how? What's the distance on that?
so I think I did it like VFR direct on ForeFlight. It was 194 miles, which the Taylorcraft does have like a 250-mile range, so it's reasonable. You're not leaving yourself much, but that thing would have to be pretty gassed up. So,
Hmm.
but
So the now he bought this plane. He just recently bought this plane, right?
it had to have been very recently, because I did a little stream this morning, and someone told me that the registration was now on somebody else's name, or it was now
Hmm.
on Trevor Jacob's name, because before it was on some Laura Smith,
Hmm.
and
So it takes a little bit for the paperwork to get through and then
yeah,
update the database.
yeah, it's the FAA. Just it's the government. It's going to take forever for any paperwork to get done. So, but it ended up getting transferred into his name after he crashed it. So It was probably just a document error or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
regardless, it's in his name now. So
Right, right. So, what is the safe altitude to fly that path?
I've been looking at For Flight Sum, and there is an airway that kind of parallels right where he was, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a MEA, which if people aren't familiar, it's the minimum in route altitude on that airway that assures you navigation reception and radio reception. And that MEA is 9,000 feet. He's going in east direction, which is an odd altitude, and it's a VFR, so you're going to add 500. So it's 9,500 feet is probably the absolute lowest he could go and still be in somewhat compliance of, the FAA. I mean, I wouldn't fly it any lower than 9,500 feet, but MSL, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's mean sea level for
Yeah.
everybody, so above sea level, what we're talking about. So the terrain altitude is what around here?
Actually, I don't know 100%. I would assume with the mountainous area out there, but it's still somewhat close to the coast, that it's probably around 2 to 4,000 feet. So
Because
he still has 5,500 feet to work with.
yeah,
Um,
so Mach 1 eyeball looking at it, I'm saying yeah, 2 to 4,000 feet.
yeah,
Just and so a Tailorcraft, I have a Cozy 3, and I'm touching down at like 80 knots, where a Tailorcraft is touching down at 30 knots. So there's a big difference. And in a plane crash, what kills you is your forward velocity. It's like you
yeah,
want to have come in as at slowest speed as possible.
yeah.
And I'm looking at this. I mean, if this is my view out the window and engine out, I said it earlier this morning to Scotty. I'm like, I need a sandwich and then figure out what to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
you got a stink load of time. You got a plane that's going to fly and fly and fly. It's got a great glide ratio. Um, there is no issue with an engine out. And so let me roll the video. This is your video, I think from this morning.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, I've been drawn to this particular video of Trevor Jacobs. I don't know why. I think it's probably just because of the events that took place. He crashed an airplane and then he lied about it. And just generally, yeah, again, destroying this airplane in the manner he did. But anyways, today we'll talk about a couple things. One, my previous mistake with coordinates. Two, we'll talk about where Trevor Jacob could have gone. And three, the Taylor Craft Service Manual. As you can see here, I'm looking right to show you that this is exactly where he lost this engine. Or just, this is the ridge around where he was at. Before I even play it too, I resumed the simulation. You can see me pull the mixture lever right there. See airspeed's dropping, and then we start the engine out procedure right here, exactly where he was at. So Taylor Craft specifies to pitch
let me stop this. So what you were doing is you're in a flight simulator and you're simulating his flight and because he didn't talk about altitude in this video, did he?
No, he didn't talk about altitude, and unfortunately, I think everyone's aware now that he didn't show any indications. Because if we were able to see his altimeter, we would know, like, okay, he's at 9,500 feet or he's at 7,500 feet, But he didn't show anything, unfortunately. So
and I'm looking at his setup. He had two cameras on the strut. He had a camera on the nose looking in. He had at least 4 or 5 GoPros running.
So not only that, but if you go to his video, he's got one sitting on the dash facing him, and then he's got one on the back. I've noticed looking straight down at his instruments. Now I didn't watch long enough to see if he had, if it was blinking that it was on or recording, but still. The fact that he had one literally sitting there looking at his instruments, yet we get none of that view, it just, I don't know, it just screams.
So John Crump says, "Where was his luggage?"
Yeah, right.
So I'm still miffed. So you simulate this, and at one point towards the end of the video, you just speed it up because it takes forever to get to the ground.
Yeah, I threw it up to
because
1,000% speed because we were literally just gliding. And not only that, I was inconsistent in this. I was doing 60 knots. The Taylor Craft manual says 60 miles per hour,
okay.
which is 52 knots. And I did it
Hmm.
again today, and I went even further. So it just, I mean, it's not you know, there's no reason to
And
do it.
for rule number one is, hey, fly the plane.
Yeah,
Don't lose your crap, and then identify a spot to land and get the plane to the best glide speed, and then just land the plane.
yeah,
And you want to land at the closest reasonable place. You don't want to say like, well, that airport's gas is too expensive, so I'm going to go a little further. You're like, hey, this is where I'm landing.
yeah, I agree.
And if you have radio, you say, hey, you call out a mayday. You say, I'm over here. These are my coordinates. Give a tail number of the plane, and either you have like it's not an EPIRB. What's it called? The new standard for the beacon.
The ELT? Is that what you're talking about?
ELT. So
Yeah,
yeah, the 433 megahertz
yeah,
ELT, right?
yeah,
That's the new standard. And that'll actually, if you have one of those in the plane, it gives like tail number identification. It's all in a database. So it's logged in a database type airplane, tail number, visual description of the plane,
yeah.
and then who owns the plane.
Laura
So
Smith
people,
at the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So rescuers can find you.
yeah.
So let's see. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit right here. So this is not all right. So that's your simulator still.
Nonetheless, the
Oh yeah,
riverbed
the whole
shown
video
right
is
here. This
Yeah,
is
and
Trevor
so
Jacobs.
I'm not bailing out of a plane. This is right after he bailed out. I could land my damn plane there, and I need minimum. You could land my plane shorter, but I need 3,000 feet to make a nice landing to be
yeah,
happy about it.
yeah,
I Taylor Craft, you could land in an emergency. You can land anything in 200-300 feet.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
riverbed, there looks like an unlimited amount of good spots to land.
Oh yeah, no. So that whole thing. I mean, so I don't know how bad of a drought California's in either, but I mean, even in the river at that point, it doesn't
For sure.
look like there's a lot of blue down there. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's just so much room, so many options, and not only that, but that's looking to put it down close. I
Oh yeah.
it's I don't know. He could have done a lot
Yeah,
more, but
just based on this, like, so right here, let's see. All right, you can see the cursor. Just even if you land in the riverbed, but right here would be that looks like pretty damn. It could be bumpy as all hell. You could hit
yeah, I'll take it.
and flip the plane over, but that's better than the peak of a mountain or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I agree.
this is like, hey, I'm gonna put the plane. If it was me, I'd be like, I'd probably say, all right, that's spot number one. Is there a better spot? Look around. Say, no, I'm just gonna orbit in a circle and just land it right here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Figure out which way the wind's coming from, because so the other thing is, so if you're landing at 30 miles an hour and you have a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and if you're going into the wind, your ground speed is going to be 15 miles an hour when you land. If
Yeah,
you go the other way, it's going to be 45. So
I
you want to
can.
land
Yeah,
into the wind.
I can literally run faster than 15 miles an hour. So there's not much happening fast in that instance. So it's
And
just yeah,
and even like the wind might, we don't know what the wind direction is on this picture here. So it might not be perfect, but still, if you have a quartering wind, wind off one wing, and that's a perpendicular wind to your flight path, you're still going to be landing at 30 miles an hour. That's not a big deal. That's
yeah.
very survivable. That's under any circumstance.
I got
And
a question for you from my chat actually.
okay,
Master Chief 328 says, can he get in trouble with the FAA for not even attempting to land or restart the engine, even if it was legit?
So, all right, there's a couple of things, and I really, if I was better at this, I would have called up somebody I knew in the FAA and asked them a couple of questions. So typically, like if you destroy your own plane and you don't cause more than I think $250 worth of damage, they don't even write a report.
Oh, maybe.
So, like if I remember there was a case, I think somebody geared up at West Hampton Airport, and even the FAA doesn't know their regulations so well. But
Yeah.
this guy that geared up knew the regulations, like, and it wasn't his fault. There was a mechanical failure, and they're like, "We're gonna write you up. We're gonna this." He's like, and he was an IA, and which is an expect. He was an A&P and an IA, the guy, and so that's an airframe power plant mechanic and
Yeah.
inspector with authorization.
Yeah.
So he told the FAA, he's like, "There's not even $250 worth of damage here to other people's property. There's nothing you can write me up for."
Interesting.
So if you took off, like, if you took out a couple of runway lights and maybe a runway sign and did more than $250 worth of damage, okay, they could write you up.
Yeah.
So unless he landed the plane into some farmer's cow, yeah, I don't think there's anything they can get him for. But what always typically what the FAA says is, as pilot in command, you're in charge of the aircraft and you're in charge of the safe operation of the aircraft.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they could probably then say you didn't follow the procedures. Now, I haven't even asked Scotty. Have you ever had an in-flight emergency of any kind?
Well, real world, kind of, not really. It was more so obviously the anyone familiar with the King Air 350 knows that it's everything's redundant. I guess I'm not 100% sure on single engine airplanes, but everything is redundant in the King Air. And so I lost a generator one time, but thankfully I have another generator, working for me on the other side. So, it was just kind of like oh, okay, well, I guess we'll continue flying. That's probably
So there's like a generator out procedure. You turn
yeah,
off one bus, you turn on another bus.
yeah. And then I've had a goggle failure at nighttime. I was flying and I had my night vision on, and then all of a sudden everything just went black. And I mean, but again, there's a set procedure for that we go over, and it just says, goggle failure, you have the controls, and that's it. It's done, So
So in this case, I'm thinking probably the worst thing the FAA could do is say, "Hey, you didn't follow Taylor-Craft's procedures. Like you should have." And I don't have a book, but ideally you have the pilot operator's manual, and you open it up. I always love when my instructor said that. He's like, "Well, if you have an emergency, reach in the seat back, grab the Cessna 172 operator's manual, turn
yeah,
to the emergency section, figure out what type of emergency you have, and then follow that procedure."
yep.
Well,
Yeah, you've got all the time to
right.
take a deep breath, hang out. You've got you're not
In
following.
this case, I think I could have read it twice.
Yeah.
And I'm trying. We're totally armchair quarterbacking this, but from what I see, you got a stink load of time based on this picture and the altitude. Like I said, I would probably eat a sandwich first and then figure out what to do, because you got a stink load of time.
Yeah. I've got another question from Hawkwind Droneworks. They ask, he's probably in more, well, I guess not really a question, but it's a good discussion piece. He's probably in more trouble with the National Forest Service than the FAA, which I think is good.
Could
I
be.
don't know if those are protected lands or anything. I know there's a little campsite nearby, based off of what Google shows. But I mean, there might be multiple government agencies looking at this, and the fact that it's a media post and he put it on YouTube for likes, is just makes it all that worse. So
Yeah, yeah. This is incredibly suspect. I don't want to. I hate armchair quarterbacking this, but I'm like, wow, I see a lot of things that could have been done different.
yeah, and that's a
And
good point. I'm sorry to cut you off. With
yeah,
the
no,
whole armchair quarterbacking thing it's people handled emergencies differently. I I have yet to be in like an emergency where like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna land this plane off the runway. But
Hmm.
people handle it differently. You'll hear some ATC calls that are super calm, and then you'll hear some that are just like people just shut down. Absolutely just shut down, and this is a whole different level. He wasn't calm, and he didn't really shut down. When people
Yeah.
shut down, they stop like having all these different, they stop what they're doing. They stop being a human. They stop
Hmm.
working.
Hmm.
This dude was working right away. He was opening the door, looking out, and was like, okay, well,
Yeah,
I guess that's it.
that wouldn't be my go-to. I wouldn't be, pushing the door open, looking out when, you got a great place to land.
Yeah.
And boy, I mean, I wonder. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of investigation on Google Earth, but I bet you could find that spot and see what it looks like. Because if I, I had never thought about getting out of an airplane. I would, if you had a structural failure, then I'd be like, wish I had a parachute because then I'm jumping out. But if the plane is flying, you got an engine out, you got a long time to work that to go, mixture rich, carb heat in,
Yeah.
check the mags, cycle the mags, pull mixture lean, full throttle. Like if it's fuel injected, you could clear it by going full throttle, full lean.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things. That's not a fuel injected plane, it's carbureted. But there's a lot of things you could do to solve the problem, to work through the problem.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah. A lot of people are saying that this Taylor craft didn't have electric start, which is fine. That's perfectly fine.
but
But
you
windmilling the
point the
prop's the
nose
same
down.
thing. Yeah. It's just getting that prop going is all you need. That's it. Just start it again.
And I've had that. So the only thing like aerobatic-ish I would do in my plane is I would fly a parabola. I liked going 0G.
Yeah.
My first plane was fuel injected. My second plane was carbureted.
Mm.
And I always suspected that if you go 0G in a carbureted plane, your float ball, the float
Yeah.
ball might do something stupid and your engine might quit. So yeah, it's at night. I was over the bay on the south shore of Long Island, and I flew the parabola, and the engine went out. It went quiet. The prop's still spinning.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I always thought that would happen. And the second I pulled back on the stick and had positive G's, the engine came back on because it's a magneto ignition. So as long as the prop is spinning, it's going to make a spark.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go 0G and the engine quits, just pull back on the stick, get a little positive G going, and boom, your engine's going to run.
Yeah. So what do you think about the whole idea that he rented a helicopter?
That's interesting.
So
if he,
for people not tracking or aware of the situation, there was an article written saying that he rented a helicopter the day after and went out there, picked up the remains of the crash, and flew it to an unknown location. And well, not him, not Trevor Jacob, because he probably would have jumped out of that, but him and a friend did it. So I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what you think about that.
so I guess a Taylor craft is probably like a 600-pound airplane. I mean, I don't know offhand.
I think I read somewhere it had a max gross weight of 1,500 pounds, and he was probably at like 1,200 that day because of
Really?
fuel. Yeah, so I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd have to look at the manuals again. But just a quick Google search told me 1,500 pounds.
Oh, okay, because my cozy was like 960 pounds, but that was empty fuel, and
Yeah,
it had 52 gallons.
yeah.
So I could like max gross weight like 2,000 pounds in that plane, but
Yeah,
empty, it was like 960 pounds. So you don't have to have a substantially big helicopter to go pick that up.
no, not at all.
Is what I was getting at.
Even though it's in the mountains, you don't need much to get it out of there. So I don't know.
So let's
beautiful
continue
face.
on here.
Would have sufficed just as easily. This airplane does not need, thousands and thousands of feet to land. There's no way. But yeah, he could have put it down in this riverbed without any issues. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't have been the most comfortable landing. Would have been a pain in the butt to go get more gas.
So I'm gonna skip way forward in your video.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So this is at 1000x speed. So and on this you did it at 60 knots, and you like cleared some trees and got to a field.
Yep.
That was like the furthest distance away.
Yeah, and then when I did the 52 knots, I was able to land in that on that roadway out there with plenty of room. Plenty of room
for
wow.
10 minutes. Yeah. So we had plenty of time. Either way, I think our wheels probably.
And just to like not armchair quarterback this too much, give a little fact in it. I don't know if you adjusted for what the winds were that day in the simulator.
No, I didn't adjust for any winds. I don't know what the winds actually were that day or what altitudes or anything. But I mean, there's so it could have worked. So it could be, it had more of a headwind. He couldn't have glided. Fill in the blank. And actually, some tablet systems will actually give you, based on the wind speed, the cone in which you can land. So the cone in which you can land, based on like you have an engine out, distorts with the wind. So that'll open up an area, like if the wind is blowing a certain direction, about how far you can glide to a safe site. Yeah.
So I just, if I looked straight down, like he did out the window, which, I mean, he's basically dead reckoning. What do you think? I mean, if you're looking, you got the door cracked and he kind of looked out a couple of times.
Yeah. You're talking to...
Do you think he was looking for a visual cue? Well, it looks to me like he was looking for a visual cue.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I think he
was... hey, this is the point.
Yeah, I don't think he really had a specified point. If he... And this is all theoretically, if he really just jumped out of the airplane randomly. I don't think he had a specified point. I think he probably was just like, okay, I need to do it in a spot where there's no people and, no hiking trails, nothing. So I can't really get pinned on this. And I think he probably looked out and saw that, oh, well, here's a clear area. There's nothing over there. And just kind of said, YOLO, jumped out.
So I'm going to play this.
I'm up the mountains and I out an engine out.
So this is how his video starts. Great opening video, and I'm having nothing to do with safety and any of that.
It's an amazing intro. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah,
it's a hook, line, and sinker. It'll catch you.
And so I'm gonna scrub forward a bit here.
Oh, you don't want the Ridge wallet in there?
Oh yeah, well who cares? All right, so hold on, let me scrub back a little bit. So,
oh, don't ever put me in a sandwich bag. If my ashes, I'll buy you a box in advance. Don't ever put me in a sandwich bag, please.
Oh gosh, I joked. I said when I go, cremate me and mix me up with a couple of pounds of tannerite, and shoot it with a round and let me blow up into. Yeah. So he was gonna drop the ashes of his buddy in when he was whatevering.
Yeah.
So parasailing or something So okay, right here over his right shoulder, here's a GoPro.
Yeah, you can see the GoPro now, looking right at the instruments.
What is the fuel selector valve that's just zippy tied here?
So I was reading on one of my comments that it's zip tied there because it's inoperative. There's no other system to draw from it. I don't know. I don't know if there's like an extended range one they've got or what, but yeah.
So is the fuel tank in the wing, or is it just above the engine and the cowling on that plane?
I'm not a Taylorcraft expert. I read it was behind the engine, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because I think in those planes it's between the instrument panel and the engine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And so it's just gravity fed. I don't even think there's a fuel pump. Is there an on-engine fuel pump or?
I don't know, but I would assume it's probably just gravity fed.
Okay, so it's just a simple two-seater plane. that just looked a little weird. I don't know what you'd be feeding fuel from, because if it's a tank above the engine, you got like an on-off. You don't have a left-right both off selector. It just... So...
I hate that too.
And if you just passed that spot, you could turn around and go back. I don't know what the timestamp between all of this is.
Yeah. So do you think the FAA could legally make him show video on that if there is video on that camera? That's a question from Captain TNT, which I think is valid.
I think that's a valid question. I'm assuming they could subpoena you for that.
Yeah.
I would... So here, it's kind of like Hillary Clinton's emails. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. You wiped with a cloth? What do you mean?
Yeah.
So, all right, so Vanessa Kitty's asking if it's insurance fraud. If you did insurance fraud on this, God bless you.
Yeah.
Because, first off, that plane isn't worth a whole lot. I don't know what kind of instrumentation the plane had. Aircraft are valued based on, just like a boat, it's hull, engine, and then electronics, in this case avionics.
Yeah.
I think there's no starter on this, so you got to like spin the prop by hand to get it going.
Yeah.
So I doubt that there's, most people I know that fly, older airplanes like this, they'll have a Garmin GPS in it.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Or
some kind of Sentry that links to your iPad and you can mount it up there. And
an ADS-B system would be cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You can put a Dynon D10A in there.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're geeking out. I don't know how many people are pilots, but so this view here, that looks to me like, oh shit. But if you look just under the belly of the plane, and I'm pointing but not with the mouse, that right there, if this is my view of what's going on, I'd be like, hey, what about this? That looks good.
So actually today I tried to turn right to see what my options were, and there's a couple little areas. It would definitely be hairy, but left or behind was definitely the play. He 100% could have made it. So, but right was just a little, I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. So,
let's scrub a little, let it play.
You can just see him.
So, all right, he's like jerking the yoke back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of weird. Somebody had commentary. They said, well, it looks like he's trying to get the propeller to stop for dramatic effect.
I think I said that actually.
Oh, because other people, a couple of people have said that.
Yeah.
So,
then multiple people have said it.
And he's like pumping it. Maybe you're the first. Everybody's copying.
Nah, I doubt it.
And because if that was me, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I would be pulling back to get best glide speed, and I'd be trimming to set it. So whenever you're flying a plane, you should always have it trimmed. So if you go hands off, the plane's just going to be flying straight and level.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'd be doing at this point. I wouldn't be like pumping. You're bleeding off energy when you pull back like that, and that could be that last bit of energy you really needed, unless you knew you were going to jump out of the damn plane.
Yeah, well, not only that, but that prop doesn't normally stop windmilling until you're at stall speed. I'm surprised we don't hear a stall horn going off with him just yanking on it. But if I was going to bail out of a plane, I'd want it at stall speed. I'd trim it. Yeah, nose down.
Full up at stall speed, and I'd just get out. Yeah. Because if you look, and this is the dumb thing that happens at airplanes. I don't know if you ever had a door on a Cessna pop open on you, but the door will open like 2 inches.
Oh, really?
And you can't. Yeah, I've had it happen. I don't know if it was my first solo flight. Had the door pop open, and it'll pop open 2 inches, and it'll be tough to pull closed, and you can't push it open.
Oh, really?
Because just the prop wash coming over it. And you kind of see that with how he gets out, that the door is like this far open. That's where it's going to stay stable. It's not going to flap or anything. It just stays stable at a couple inches open.
Yeah. And that's
what
one thing we
people-
talked about is flying an aircraft that potentially locks a door open for ventilation. But yeah,
which I'm not a tailcraft guy, so I couldn't tell you a whole lot about that airplane. And actually, my buddy has a Citabria. It actually has a lever, and the door will fly off.
oh shit.
So, yeah, the Citabria has a lever, so it's a tandem, and you get into an oh crap situation. You can pull, and the whole door it pulls the hinge pins, and the door flies off.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I thought you meant just randomly it flies off every now and
no.
again. I was like, wow, okay.
No,
just tell me
no.
where he's flying and I won't be there. So.
yeah, that's just an emergency thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other detail here is, okay, so we're looking from a GoPro at another GoPro. So he's got two GoPros this way.
Yeah.
He's got a GoPro on the tail looking forward. I think he's got one on the dash looking back at him.
Yeah.
And then one over his shoulder looking forward, which we don't see, like, and I'm not, if I had 5 GoPros and I had an instrument panel GoPro going,
yeah,
and I was going to publish, I'd be showing you, hey, I checked my fuel selector valve, I went full rich, carb heat on, I cycled the magnetos.
Pre-flighted my parachute real quick.
Right? Yeah. All right, and that's another thing. So this isn't the oh crap parachute that you fly with as a pilot. This is, I'm going skydiving, I'm taking this cool badass parachute with me that I can maneuver really well.
Yeah, so the oh shit parachute has no reserve because that is your reserve. The skydiving one has reserve sitting in there, so
yeah, and it's the skydiving, it's a big bulky parachute. It's not something you want to sit on. Yeah, that's something, if he was going to jump, like he's meeting up with buddies jumping, I would expect that to be in the back of the plane in the cargo area, and I would expect him to have like a seat back parachute.
Yeah. Tyson Clark in my chat says, he's got the same parachute as me, and trust me, it's as uncomfortable as sin. Super heavy, super thick. So I wholeheartedly agree. Completely understand. That would be...
Now, I don't know the door handle, how the door handle on that locks, but it's kind of down almost 60 degrees. And I never saw it, like, I would assume it would latch up if it was locked, but it's kind of down 60 degrees like that. So I don't know, but I didn't see it in any other position in his video.
Yeah.
So that's a little suspect to me. And all right, so he's pumping, which it looks like his goal was to stop the prop.
Yeah, I agree.
Holy I'm over the mountains and I get out and exit out.
And I don't think, if you're truly panicked in a total oh crap maneuver, you're not going to be narrating it.
Not like that. If I'm going to narrate it, it's going to be, oh, my manifold pressure's gone. I have no oil pressure, Right. Not, I'm out over the mountains. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, good point on that. I'd be like, hey, I'm at, you know what? And I would probably do like, hey, I'm at this altitude, this airspeed, this direction,
Yeah.
I would give critical data, so if anybody finds the footage, recovers the cameras for the video, that they would have some information on the accident.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So, but his go-to, and I got to give him credit. It almost looks like you got a 90% chance of getting your foot caught in the door on the way out. I mean, just
absolutely.
Exiting that airplane, I mean, he got out. And you see him pumping the yoke. Yeah.
So I've got.
And it's got to be trimmed all the way back.
It has to be, yeah. I've got a guy in my chat, Backwoods Pyro, claims he knows Trevor personally, and says that all of his videos are mainly staged or fake, and says even when even when there's a video where he gets chased off by security or something, that's not airport security. That's Don, who used to work for Hot Creek Aviation and was not security.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna be around the corner of this hangar. Can you chase me away in about 10 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
cool.
Yeah, and my trigger word is rabbit. So yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So this is a great shot. I don't know if you could see the plane is at the top of the frame here.
Oh, I
so
hate it.
He's got a perfect shot because I've got exactly 2 jumps in my life, and probably 30 years ago I did that in my 20s.
Yeah.
You've jumped, right?
I have. I've only skydived once, or skydove, I guess, once.
Now, was that a tandem?
Yeah,
How
it was
did
tandem.
you jump?
It was tandem.
Okay.
It wasn't a military jump. It was a civilian. I'm not military qualified for jump or anything, but yeah, it was just a tandem jump out in Hawaii, having fun.
So I did 2 jumps before they started doing the tandem, and you were static line. So you actually,
Yeah.
the door opens up on the plane. It opens vertically, and you step on. There's a step on top of the wheel. You grab the strut, and then you step off. So you're just hanging like Superman, and then you let go.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to fall in an arch formation, and you're face down, which you have a few seconds of that feel until the chute, it gets dragged out immediately because it's tied to the airplane, basically.
Yeah.
And that's hence static line. So this is obviously planned.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is, you don't jump with your GoPro on the selfie stick and then roll over on your back and like, oh, let me get the shot of the plane.
Yeah.
I mean, that
was the first thing I noticed, and it even says it on my first video, is so dramatic, because it really is so dramatic. It's all for drama, like the video perfectly shows him just jumping out, and the video perfectly shows the plane going, and then he gets his parachute out and like follows the plane all the way. I would be like, okay, I need to memorize every detail about where that went down, I guess video evidence might help, but I don't know. Just too many dominoes there.
Yeah. I'm just, he's got boots on, which is good because, like, if you had sneakers on and were flying, that exit out the door probably ripped the sneakers off you.
Yeah, I don't.
So,
good thing he's wearing boots.
And I don't. Now, here's the other thing. Have you ever flown a small plane with boots?
Just, I think, no, I've only worn boots in the King Air, actually.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever worn boots. Now, my instructor, he would actually fly with socks on. He'd kick his shoes off so he could feel how you're working the rudders.
Yeah.
So, maybe he figured he was going hiking that day. I don't know.
Well, he did.
But, all right, so here's one thing. He's got that freaking headset beating the crap out of him.
I love that. I think I wrote a comment on that in my video, too. It's like, headset hitting him in the face for being stupid.
Yeah, so, all right, let's see. Click here, and you'll see the headset flip it around. That...
Just smack him in the face.
And still, he's... This... If I just jumped out of an airplane, I'm not looking back to get that shot. Plus, I mean, this is cinematic gold. I mean, this is you are the king of the GoPro.
I'll give him that. He's a good director, very good cameraman. He's an all-in-one show, actually.
Yeah, and if you look right ahead of his chest there, dead center on the frame, that is exactly where I would have landed after I ate a sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. After I, called my wife and,
pulled out your cell phone. Hey, this ain't going good today.
And
I'm probably going to be hiking out of the woods.
Yeah, right. But this, I forget who said he knows him. Backwoods Pyro actually brings up another kind of interesting point. He said that Trevor has another YouTube channel called GKC Worldwide. And I just looked it up, and there's actually a YouTube channel, very, very small YouTube channel, and I think it's him. But I'll have to look at it later and see if there's anything good on there. So it looks like it only has like 3 or 4 videos. This one actually, they both say 50 videos. Maybe I don't know.
Now, and I haven't looked at Social Blade. I'm wondering what his numbers are as far as a YouTuber. Like, I don't know how many views you get on this and how much money you can make from that, but
So
wow.
a quick Google search will tell you that 1,000,000 views will net you like $2,000 to $4,000. He's at 498,000 right now, which is fair because we have a lot of people, making videos about it and going, dude, what the hell?
Right.
So, which is fair, and I hope he gets 1,000,000 views on it. Sure. It just kills me that, I don't know. He's just having a field day with it, but he's been very quiet. If I'm sure you've noticed too, he's been very quiet. No videos, no Instagram posts,
Right.
nothing. He has just been quiet as can be. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't wish anyone ill. I watch something like Whistling Diesel where he destroys stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's your stuff, you destroy it, okay,
Yeah, my wife and I watch Whistling Diesel all the time, and I saw the airplane one, and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of funny. But he never took it off. He didn't lie about it. He wasn't a general shithead. He was like, I'm going to destroy this airplane, and then destroy the airplane.
And he did it for views.
Yeah, which is fine in my case because he was honest about it. This is just complete foolery. Trying to, it's. I hate when people say like, oh, well, you think you're smarter than the rest of us trying to fool us, but that's exactly what it is at this point. So I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, and I can't get over looking. I'm like, if I was in my plane that lands at 3 times the speed of this tailcraft, that's where I would land.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I would land.
Even our King Air, it's like 104 knots at flaps down, minimum. I would put it down right there. It's I don't know, but yeah, this guy's just he's gonna face some consequences. I think maybe not with the FAA or the NTSB, but I would actually be kind of surprised if he really notified the FAA or NTSB. But I think he will face some consequences.
So the FAA notifies the NTSB. The NTSB can't do anything. They just investigate.
Yeah.
The FAA is the one that sanctions you. So.
Yeah. Well, I should get hired by the NTSB then, I guess, for, No, I'm just kidding. I've put out some bad facts too, but hopefully we can get all those corrected. So, I gotta. Yeah.
So you see the plane. So this is on the horizontal stabilizer of the plane. You can see the 2 GoPro cameras under the strut. So there's one here, one over here. And whatever happened with the trim or whatever, now that he's out of the plane seems to be accelerating and the prop's spinning now. So it just starts to spin. And even just ahead of the plane in that shot, there was a grassy area you could have landed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. Oh.
And where is this camera that he's got right now? So in all seriousness, like right there, you got the plane, and I'm pointing. So here's the plane.
Yeah.
You got this grassy spot. You want to make a bet you could have landed there?
I think you probably could have.
I know a guy in Alaska that landed a DC-3 going up a mountain. He just went up like this, it stalled, and boom, crashed into the mountain. And he walked away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, just right here, this is... So this shot right here, you could have, like, if you're going, you could have landed that like you're going downwind at a runway at an airport.
Yeah.
You could say, okay, I'm going to make a left turn, left base, final, boom. And, I mean, that would have been a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. There could be big rocks down there that we can't see, and maybe he saw and said, "Hey, I'm not landing there."
I don't know.
But that's what I would have done.
I got a good question from Zoe. They ask, are radios mandatory? Should there be
No.
a record of him making a mayday call? So radios are not mandatory, but he took off from a tower to airport, meaning that he had to have had some kind of radio contact with the tower in order to get on the runway and take off.
You could have gotten exemption.
I guess he could have gotten an exemption. I mean, I guess at this point he probably did. He probably was like planning for months ahead, like, hey, I need an exemption on, November 15th. And then Damien also asked, why was he so high in altitude? Would it be normal for a flight path like that? So do you think that would be a normal flight path?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So we talk about the altitude that you would fly at. So there's two ways to go through the mountains, and I'm a flatlander guy.
Flat earther?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not. I've flown all on the East Coast, so
Yeah.
I used to work in Albany, New York, so occasionally I'd fly Islip to Albany.
Yeah.
And that's about as much terrain, and it's probably similar to this. I once flew from like Harrisburg International south to Georgia
Yeah.
at night, and I didn't realize I never did this before, but I was flying over the mountains and you get updrafts and downdrafts. So as like the wind hits the mountain, you'll get an updraft. So all of a sudden you're like going up at a couple hundred feet per minute, even though you're level flight.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as you go out of that, so you trim for normal, to maintain altitude, and then as you go out of that column of air, you start descending. So
Exactly.
that's a little disconcerting, especially if you've never done it before, which was my case at that time. So yeah, I just think there's tremendous opportunity on that riverbed there to land. And I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's a riverbed. I don't think it's a road.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in the dry season, people are four-wheeling. They're probably dirt bikes and four-wheelers going through there.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at this because this is definitely the right turn, and I'll have to see if I can look at it and go maybe try to land there. I guess I'm just looking for distance. I'm looking to see how far I can go, Not like, oh, there's a spot down there. Real life, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, there's a spot down there. I'm just going to, woo. But
So the question, going back to the original question about altitude. So we were talking earlier about what altitude you would have to be at to get navigation aid. So that's ground-based radio navigation, not GPS.
Yeah.
And what altitude you'd have to be at to get radio communication. So those are altitudes that they'll list on the sectional and with an airway and tell you what altitude you should be at. Now, the other way people fly through the mountains is they'll actually follow roadways. So if they have an emergency, they'll land on a road.
Yeah. Yeah, which you can find videos all over the internet of that happening. It's common.
Because sometimes, like when you're going over the Sierra Nevadas, depending on the type of airplane you're flying, you don't have n number 1,000 feet above the top of the mountain at the peak. You're not 10,000 feet above. You may have only a few thousand feet above the peak based on the performance of your airplane.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys that do that with questionable, without better performing airplanes, let's say, they'll follow the roadways. They'll follow the highways through the mountains.
Yeah.
Because if they have to put down, boom, they got a spot. So let's roll forward. So, serious, you could have turned left base and boom, final.
Oh yeah.
I think what's really remarkable is it looks like all of the cameras. That was one camera view. Here's camera view 2. So the camera survived. Good going, GoPro. Now, did he jump with a selfie stick? How is he doing this?
So I think it's pretty common for a skydiver to take like a little handband, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And so I think because they wear like an altimeter on their wrist, and then they have a handband that I think that kind of they'll shove in your face when they want you to smile at the camera or something.
I've said this phrase too many times in the last couple days. I am not the most macho guy, but I am not gonna like a whiny little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just drama for the video. It's tough listening to.
Dude. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. I guess I should probably document what's going on.
Yeah, probably.
I cut my finger pretty bad.
Oh, no.
Got my elbow.
Boo-boo.
Oh.
I'm just so happy to be alive. I'm just kind of taking in what just happened. Well, where the hell am I going to land a freaking plane? I'm going to die. That's why I always freaking fly with a parachute.
Oh, man.
No phone service.
Can I answer? Can I take where to land a plane for 100?
The gnarly
I don't have 100
bushes.
to give you, but you
I
can.
got so much poison oak and freaking cuts.
Poison oak, poison sumac, rattlesnakes, bears, tigers. Ow.
Ow.
Oh, man.
Oh. I've called for help multiple times.
Nah, I'm not going to say it. You guys can think what I'm saying. I'm just not going to say it.
Zoe says new candidate for realest moment of his life.
And by the way, that myth that 911 works when you don't have phone service is total BS.
I'm going to scrub ahead. So where do we get to the plane?
Oh my gosh.
Because
The crash site he shouldn't be messing with,
The ravine ends in a cliff.
wait, did I miss the plane?
I'm officially cliffed out. And
Oh, wait, all
There
right.
it is.
Yeah, I did.
their power for watching over me. I'm gonna start walking out of here.
So wait. How much plane? All right, so I don't know how much he shot and how much he cut out, but if that was me, and I found, just
There's
bailed out of
really
the plane, I'd be documenting like the fuel selector
water.
position, the
Water jug in the
magneto
back.
position.
Oh, yeah.
Now he seems to talk about the water,
Yeah,
the
no
thing of
idea where I
water. So if I just bailed out of a plane and I was 20, 30 miles or however, I don't know, 5 miles, who knows, from a farm or somebody that could help me, I would be hiking back to the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
But he needed his GoPros for the footage. And if you were going to, and I'm not saying he did, but if you were going to stage a plane accident like this, I think, tell me if I'm right or wrong, or if you have suggestions. I would turn the fuel selector off so the engine would go bup, 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 and stop. And then I guess I would have to turn, I could leave it like that. But if you turn the fuel selector back on and the magneto off, the engine wouldn't restart after you jumped because the prop would windmill and it would start the engine.
Yeah.
So you could do both off, one or the other off, but you don't want the FAA NTSB coming to it and seeing that you had turned the fuel selector off because they're going to say you sabotaged your own plane. Because what they're going to do is they're going to take the engine, they're going to mount it on a stand and see if it runs.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, hey, it runs. What the heck did you do to it? Pilot error, blah, 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 is how they'll write it up. If they mount that engine on a test stand and it runs. So that's a little suspect to me because you don't see anything inside the plane. You don't see, it's just, and I was surprised. I thought those were fabric airplanes. That looks like all aluminum.
Yeah.
Thank you, higher power, for watching over me. I'm going to start walking out of here.
After I got my GoPros.
Yeah, this guy.
So, now is he carrying his parachute? Because I saw a shadow.
Oh, another hour
and it
gone
looks
by.
like, because
down in
if
this
I'm...
ravine. This is so freaking gnarly. Oh, ow. Ow.
If I'm worried for my life, yeah, here, this is it. It looks like he's carrying his parachute.
Yeah,
Please
no,
don't
I think
flip
he
out.
is. 100%.
Because I'd be like, if I was worried about my life, I'd be like, let me get rid of this damn thing, and
not creepy, but
I'll pick it up later.
Like
That's kind of a
a
tough
mountain lion or a
situation.
bear could definitely be
So
watching me right now.
I have been through,
In the middle.
like, I guess the military survival training and stuff in preparation for this, and a parachute might be extra weight, but if I'm not running from anybody, if I'm not, hurt, I'll probably take it with me just in case, especially in the winter. It could make a good blanket. It could make and this is solely like, oh crap, I just crashed my airplane. Not like, oh, I just jumped out of my airplane. It might make a good blanket,
Right.
good shelter, So, but other than that, I'm ditching it.
But I don't know what the temperature is here. It visually it doesn't look to me like it's cold because he's t-shirt. I don't know that I'd be thinking like, okay, this parachute's going to be my tent tonight because I'm going to sleep here and then hike the rest of the way out.
Gosh, he's ugly.
Is his head all scratched up? I mean, he's.
I hope so.
But yeah, he's still got the harness on. I mean, that's the first thing I'd be pulling off. But I don't know what the parachute cost, but that might be a couple of grand worth of parachute.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to leave it for somebody else to pick up.
Life or death situation, I'm leaving everything,
Right. That's where I'd be going on that. And so wait, I think in the end he meets up with some farmers.
Yeah. I got about 5 minutes.
I'm gonna just get to
heads
that
up.
river, and then I saw water. I started crying. It's been a few days since the crash. Covered head to toe in poison oak, but we are on the road about 4 hours into the drive. Just hoping to get there and have enough time to get some sleep. So we'll wake up first thing in the morning and start hiking the mountain to spread Johnny's ashes on one of his favorite mountains in the Sierra Nevadas. This is the goal and intention that I set before even embarking on this adventure, and there's nothing that's going to stop me from following through with that. Good morning from about 9,000 feet. We're just
anyhow. That's about it.
Good for him. Driving this time where he belongs.
I don't know. This is. I think there's a lot of things that could have been done better. I hate armchair quarterbacking somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sucks to do it to someone who is, a pilot, someone who has such a large following, who could have used that for good. But at the same time, this is like, if I did this, you better believe, there's going to be massive repercussions, And I hope he doesn't get away with it. I don't think he's going to get away with it. And at the very least, I think the aviation community is going to crucify him.
And that's so. I don't wish anyone ill. This looks highly suspect to me. I mean, it just. I don't. As far as I can say, I'm just going to say I hope everybody's okay, and I hope the truth comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm looking at that saying, really, you could have landed right there, and you had the door open. You were looking straight down, and right below you was just the best landing spot. Heck, like I said, you had enough time to eat a sandwich, to read the emergency handbook, check it twice, fuel selective valve off, magneto off, crack the door. Oh, I already have the door cracked open. Yeah. So when you crash land a plane, you're supposed to crack the door open so it's easy for people to rescue you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it just, I don't know. Richard Maunders from England, he says under the plane. I'm not sure what he means.
I don't know.
But would have been great if a mountain lion had jumped
under the plane. Yeah.
So, okay, apparently he went paragliding days later, a week later, and spread the guy's ashes.
Good for him. I mean, it's good he got the ashes spread, but the video should have instead been titled, I spread my friend's ashes where he wanted me to, Not, I crashed my plane, sponsored by the Ridge Wallet, But I don't know.
Oh, somebody help me! I got a flat tire. Oh, under the bus. Oh, okay. That's what Richard Monder was referring to.
Yeah.
So, Scotty, I don't know. You got any questions in your chat or anything more to add?
I've got a few questions, but I think we hit the biggest ones. How about this one? Final question from Raul. How did the Ridge wallet do after the emergency? Yeah.
Or so he is not the best producer, cameraman, and actor ever, because he would. My Ridge wallet made it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would have been something. But, oh well.
Johnny's ashes and the Ridge wallet.
Yeah, and he grabbed the ashes, which is good. You know, that's good for him.
Boy.
He had his priorities.
So
I was gonna say he had his priorities straight, but somewhat. I mean, I don't know.
Now that's super suspect to me. Also, if you're going to be dumping somebody's ash, first off, I don't know how. I mean, was his buddy a small person? I mean, that looked like
He probably got some of them, not all of them.
Yeah. All right, so that's a valid point. Do you stuff Johnny's ashes in your shirt pocket
I
because
don't know.
you think you might be jumping out of your airplane, or is Johnny's ashes in your luggage or your duffel bag?
I have no idea, but if I were Johnny, I'd be a little upset, and if I were Trevor, I'd probably put him in a box and then Velcro him to the dash so they could see Johnny could see everything that's going on. But
or probably the safest place Johnny's ashes would have been was in a GoPro case.
Yeah, right.
Because all the GoPros made it.
They did, yeah. Yeah, that guy. But I don't know. He's something else, and I hope he gets exposed eventually. I know you're doing your part. I feel like I'm doing my part. Hopefully the truth comes out and he releases an apology. But
whatever the truth is, I hope it comes out. Let me put it that way. I don't want to, really. I mean, I totally armchair quarterback this, but I really don't want to throw shade his way because who knows?
You and me both. I've been armchair quarterbacking it since I found out about it.
Yeah. So, Scotty, your channel is Scotty Flies Fast. So if anybody's watching on my channel, go sub Scotty's channel, give him some love.
Do appreciate it. Although the fastest I've ever flown is actually only 400 knots, so I don't know how fast that was. Yeah, it was okay, but I wanted to. We'll break the sound barrier one day.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
It's just
I've been like 220 knots in my plane. That's about it.
That's fast.
No, that's like in a dive.
Yeah, full power in a dive. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, throttling off in a dive.
Yeah.
But
sometimes you need to get down quick, but
yeah.
Well, cool. And you're I think we're actually relatively close. So who knows?
Yeah, you're in Georgia. I'm in Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, we'll have to.
So, Fox 45 is in my backyard.
Yeah, we'll have to. I've actually flown by Orlando before. I saw Disney World from the air. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, and there's a permanent TFR.
Actually, believe it or not, I have a picture of someone flying through that TFR on ForeFlight, and I was like, "What is this guy doing?" But
that's the dumb thing. What people don't know about TFRs is if you're on an instrument flight plan, you just do your instrument flight plan.
Yeah, there's no way he was at a VFR altitude.
Oh, okay.
In the TFR, yeah, it was not. I don't know, but I do.
Maybe it was Trevor.
Yeah, gosh, just wanted a good look at Disneyland, I guess. But I do appreciate you having me on.
Sure, it was fun, and I always go by FlyingRich, and I don't talk a whole lot of flying. I talk everything else because I've been too poor to fly for too many years.
Yeah, well, maybe we could get out again sometime, you and me, and that'd be fun. We'll take a Cessna or something and go skirt around the coast.
Sure, that'd be cool.
But we won't jump out. You gotta promise me.
I'm not jumping out.
Yeah.
I'm riding the plane down.
Yeah. We'll take it all the way down to the ground, regardless what happens. So, but well, sweet. I appreciate it, Rich, and I guess I'll catch you guys next time.
Alrighty, guys, and we'll have you on John Crump Live.
Yeah, it'll be a couple weeks. I've got some stuff to do, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys, take care.